Welcome to part 2 of PJNet Live as we continue. And I would like tonight to reintroduce an old friend who we haven't seen for 3 weeks. Does anybody remember Michelle Medlock Adams?
It's crazy. I'm back with the land of the living. I'm not in a remote, off-site place where there's no internet.
Well,
that was tough.
I'll get messages from you. You're going to do the speaking engagement, and I think of a civic center, a football field, a venue of some kind. But apparently, you're going out in the woods. I mean, you even took your boat to the last.
We did. We took our boat. We fished for 4 days, and it was at Maranatha Christian Writers Conference, which is a great conference. Kyle was there, my agent Kyle, and Stephen James, good friend. We had a wonderful time, but the internet, not so good. And when I told the lady who runs the conference I needed to find a spot so I could do the show, she goes, oh. When I saw the look in her eyes, I immediately started texting. I'm like, this is probably not going to work. So, yeah.
I am not feeling it. Well, hey, you've been busy. Have you had time to read any good books lately?
I just ordered one. I'm kind of an Amazon fan. I'm always ordering and having them delivered. And I just started this book by Tim Tebow.
I was talking about Platinum Faith, but go ahead.
I know, but let me tell you. And it's called Shaken. And I'm excited because I'm a big sports fan, and he's kind of somebody to look up to in the sports world. I used to be a sports writer, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. But
he's kind of handsome too, isn't he?
I mean, I wasn't going to say that, but yes, he is. So he's pretty great. So I can't wait to read that book. I'm always reading it. I think writers are always reading, and so I'm always reading. So that's the next one on my list to read. I just started thumbing through it. But I'm hoping everybody's reading our new book. Bethany Chet and myself just came out with our latest book. It's called Platinum Faith. See how shiny it is? It's like crazy. Mm-hmm. Look at the spine of that. Oh, it's shiny, so pretty. That just came out yesterday. Was our official launch day, and so we've done a lot of interviews and lots of media appearances. I've got a TV thing tomorrow. It's just, this is the week where everybody wants to talk to you. We hope that continues. So I appreciate you letting me talk about it tonight, because we're pretty excited about not just the fact the book came out, because, you work on it for so many months and it's in your heart for years, it seems like. And then it actually, they call it birthing. Like, this is the book birthday. You feel like you've birthed this book. But it's more than that. It's that we knew the content in this book was so vulnerable and raw and real that we were a little bit scared for it to come out, because we're like, man, we told things we've never really said in public before. And so you just know that God's hand was all over it. Even in the writing of it, it was every chapter, we just felt like we had to live and be challenged on that particular aspect of faith while we were writing it. You know how it says, don't pray for patience or you'll be challenged in patience? It was like every chapter was like that. So we knew that God's hand was all over this, but boy, it's the hardest project I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of some doozies. I have over 90 books out, so this is. I'm telling you, I really do feel like I birthed the book, and Bethany and I we're just so excited that it's out.
Okay, what? Darn you! You stole the words. I was going to say, I'll pretend. Let folks ignore that previous testimony. You are very excited about this book. I mean, and you should be. And what amazes me, Michelle, you've written 90 some odd books. And every new book is a really, either you're faking it very well, or it is really a sincere new experience every time.
It is. It really is. I don't think I'm that good of an actress. It is, because each project, it's like your heart has to be in it, or I wouldn't have been a part of it. I mean, I could be fishing, right? I would be out doing fishing, but it's so big in you that you have to write it. And that's how this book was. We both knew we wanted to do a book about our testimonies, about our faith, and just about where we live on those in-betweens. We've talked about that before on this show, when you're between the mountaintop and the next mountaintop. Those in-between, those valleys sometimes are where you have the most growth, but they're also the hardest times to walk through. And so we knew we wanted to write about that. We just didn't know exactly what venue, how it was going to work. And then, man, when God dropped Platinum Literary, our business, into our laps, Platinum Faith was a natural progression for that. We're like, we want to do a book. Let's use that same concept and take all the aspects of platinum, all the properties of platinum, and put it into a book and talk about how that applies to our faith. And we are already hearing what we had dreamed would happen, because we really felt like this was all God ordained. We really believe that. But people are saying, they just were going to read a little bit, and they stayed up till 4 a.m. reading the whole book. And you know, everybody that on our launch team who got the book ahead of time and are leaving reviews, and of course are our friends, but they didn't just say the nice things. They were very honest. They said, this particular chapter really challenged me here, and then they would give a testimony. So we had videos going every day this week of somebody talking about which chapter really challenged them. And it's amazing when you're that real and raw and vulnerable and put it all out there with scripture tied in, and you're showing these Bible stories that support what happened to you, and Daniel and David and Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and all these great stories and these people of faith. And then you're talking about your own anecdotes, and then somebody else says, "Oh my gosh, I got that too," and then they share that. It's confirmation that you really heard from God. And I mean, we were just riding a high. It may be late some places, but I'm wired. I'm so excited this finally happened.
How much coffee have you had?
I don't drink coffee, right? But I did have a Polar Pop. Sorry, yeah, right
here.
Oh,
I love those. Yeah. I love those. So y'all have those up there?
Quite a bit. Oh my goodness. Right down the street from me. This is my nemesis right here. But I let myself have one a day. And I've been nursing this one all day. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are 44-ounce bladder busters. I mean, they are.
That's right.
And they're in styrofoam cups. So when you put them in your cup holder, they don't sweat.
They don't sweat. The flavor stays true.
Yeah. And they stay cold. It's really good.
I love them so much.
Now they, for the longest time, they were 79 cents for the large ones. Remember that? Now down here, they just went up to 99 cents.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. And they put them in an orange cup because people were mistaking. Now the other sizes are still 79. This is important stuff that the internet needs to know. This is,
if you get a squirt of cherry, it's an extra 11 cents.
No, we don't even have that option down here.
Oh, well.
Okay. Because you all do. Y'all call it pop up there, don't you?
No, I don't. Now my brother in Cleveland calls it pop, like with the nasal pop.
Pop.
No, everything is a Coke here. Even if you're ordering a Big Red, you're like, I want a Coke, and
it's Coke.
I don't know why we do that. Yeah.
No. Let me say, we tried to arrange to have Bethany Chet, the co-author, here with us tonight. Any chance we can do that maybe next week? Maybe if you can slow her down.
I mean, we can try. She is in this season of, well, there's all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't know how much she'll let me share, but she has 3 boys, 13 down to age, what's the youngest? I think he's 8. He might have just turned 9. And so she's just transitioned from homeschooling. She's put them back in school, and then one's playing soccer. And so basically from 3:30 on, her life is not her own, because she has been, I've lived that season. So anything after that time, we might be able to talk her into it. She was kind of sad she had to miss tonight, but they were having some of the youth kids over on a Wednesday night.
Yeah, we didn't want her here tonight. No.
She was going to have a lot of teenagers there.
Well, first of all, what she's doing is important, okay, and we don't want to distract her from it. But even if she tried to do it, it would probably had been a train wreck.
It would have been a lot of voices, I think, in the background.
Yeah, let her know that we can record it if there's a convenient time that you and her would like to, because I feel, I don't know, a little sense of guilt that she's half the book, right?
She is half the book. It's exactly half. We each did 6 chapters, and then like if I was the lead on a chapter, she wrote the sidebar, so that and then vice versa, so that we each had a voice into each of those platinum properties. And that you're exactly right. And really, we write very similarly. I mean, and you can't hardly tell who's writing what. So we had to put our names at the top so you'd know whose chapter it was.
Okay.
Yeah, but we come at it from different perspectives, because she's I think we figured out 13 years younger than I am, and she's from Florida, and I'm from the Midwest, and I have girls and she has boys, and she's a military wife, and I'm not, and I fish. She doesn't like the outdoors or even like to go outside. We have very different upbringings, and even in our faith, we grew up in different churches, but we lay it all on the line here, and we know we're best buds. So it was really neat to not only be business partners but to be co-authors, because boy, you can't just write with just anybody. And I mean, it challenged us at times. There were times where we couldn't talk to each other for a couple of days. We didn't agree on everything. We're like, boy, our faith is being challenged today for sure. And we had to just, sit back and compromise was a lot that we had to do. But we grew in our friendship, and we grew in our faith as we wrote this book.
If writing is like anything else I know, you got to be careful who you make partners.
For sure, no truer words right there. That's yes, because it's like I mean, every day we spent months and months on this book and weeks after editing, and now we're promoting it. If you didn't like one another, that'd be a really, really tough year or so. That would not be, I would never choose that. But if it's somebody that you trust and honor and believe in and champion, it can be a really kind of a magical thing. You just you share and celebrate everything together. And the fun parts now where we get to go out and talk about it and and really not just promote the book. I mean, it's great if the book sells and that gets us more deals, but it's really about the content and what God put on our hearts to share with everyone. And so, I mean, there's nothing better than knowing that you're walking in your purpose, which we actually have in the book. And we feel like God really did call this to be for right now. So we're walking in our purpose by going out and sharing about it. It's so fun. This part's fun.
I don't profess to be an expert on your writing career, but in the time that we spent together, I get the impression that this book is very different from like the children's book. This is obviously
Yeah.
really goes deeper.
Wow. For sure. I know I've said that a couple of times, but it really was like giving birth. Every chapter required so much research, and neither one, we say in the intro, neither one of us are Bible scholars. We don't profess to be. I mean, I went to journalism school. My degree is in journalism and speech communication. Bethany, I think she has a criminal justice minor, and then she got a, maybe it was English, and then she's getting her master's right now in marketing. So neither of us, went to seminary, but we're both students of the Word. We're in the Word. I have been my whole life, and we have lots of study guides and lots of people that we check things out with. And they had somebody at the publisher who went in who had like 12 Bible degrees who would go through everything. And so it took a lot of research and just really seeking the Lord. It talks about seeking Lord, which seeking means to spend some time really studying and searching out the scriptures. And we did that. Every chapter is organized the same, so it's easy to follow. It's not a hard read. It's very conversational, but we start with a quote and then we go into usually an anecdote, something from our lives that really happened. And then we go into the platinum property where we talk about whatever property of platinum we're talking about at that time, or whether it withstands the heat, because it can actually go up to 3,000 degrees before it melts. Those kinds of, or that it's useful, or that it's rare or precious. The platinum property, and then we go into usually the sidebar from the other author who didn't lead that chapter. That usually comes next. Then we have a whole thing about how you can apply it to your life. The platinum promise, which is where we take the scriptures and we weave that in, and then we have at the end it's the platinum project, which is basically this is your assignment to really put this aspect of faith into practice in your own life. And so it always ends with a challenge. And then there's discussion questions at the end of each chapter. So if you want to, journal and talk about this to yourself, just so you'll remember some things, or you can do it in a group study. If you want to do it with your women's Bible study, or men are liking this book too. We specifically wrote it for women, but we've had several guys who were doing the interview read it and said, "Man, I got stuff from this too." So who knew? Who knew that we could write for guys too?
Well, you say you write it for women. What perspective could you have? I mean, I haven't read the book, so the things you've mentioned, Daniel, that's not a real feminine topic. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's not a very feminine topic. So, what makes you think you quote wrote it for women?
I mean, I guess we thought we did because that was in our heart when we wrote it. We were talking about, because we talk about in here that many women struggle. We've talked about this on the show before. Struggle with their value and their worth, and maybe knowing what their purpose is. And I think maybe we struggle with the identity a little bit more than guys. Maybe I'm wrong. And so that whole part about being rare and precious, we really felt like was for women. But you're right, the Bible stories are for everyone, and how you apply that to your life. And like with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that's in the chapter about withstanding the heat. And that's one of my favorite chapters. Bethany wrote that one. I wrote the sidebar to that one. But the fact that platinum is one of the most resistant to heat, like metals, 3,000 degrees before it will melt. Much more than like silver and gold and some of the other precious metals. We were just talking about when you have a platinum faith, when you're really walking close with God, you can withstand the heat. When things heat up, when life doesn't go like you planned it, when you're in the middle of a storm, you can withstand the heat when you have platinum faith, because you know that ultimately God's going to work all that to your good. No matter what you're going through, that He's got you. And it's kind of like that poem of the Footprints poem where the guy thought God left him. Like, where did you go when I needed you most? And he finds out God picked you up and carried you. I think we can look back on our lives, at least I can, and see the times when I felt like God had checked out. Man, he was really carrying me. I couldn't do it on my own, but with God, I can withstand the heat, no matter how hot it gets around me. And so we do use Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That story, it says when those Hebrew children, when they came out of that they turned up, the heat so much, even more than 7 times more. When they came out, so they didn't even smell like smoke. Now, I want you to think about that. Have you ever been in a smoky environment? I mean, be honest. Right?
Every time I light a campfire, the smoke seems to drift my way. You ever notice that?
Well, they say smoke follows beauty, so there you go. That's
I just proved that not to be true. But I remember in the story that even the workers that the king had ordered the workers scorched themselves and died.
That's right. It was because they turned up so much hotter than usual that you're exactly right. They even died. And yet these Hebrew children, when they take them out, and my favorite part of that is that they said whether God saves us or not makes no difference.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It's like that's what we call all-in faith.
That's all in. That
all
is
in.
All
and
in.
Then they come out and they don't even smell like smoke. I mean, Bethany shares a story that her husband, there's this little barbecue dive where there's some of those hole in the wall places have the best food, and they had really good wings. And so she would send Justin there to get these wings and bring home for dinner, and she would make him immediately drop the bags off and then take off his sweatshirt and run upstairs to shower because he smelled so bad. It smelled so much like smoke because it was just kind of a dive bar place. And she said, you just couldn't get it out of him, and it would make the whole house smell like smoke. And that was only being in there 10 minutes waiting for their wings to arrive. Can you imagine if you were in the furnace all night? You would smell like smoke. So I think it's just a testimony to that God he is so much bigger and all powerful, and he can do the impossible. And that's what this whole book is about, is having that all in faith, whether he chooses to do this way or that way. I mean, I lead the book with the story about my grandson Bear, who's got the brainstem tumor, and we're believing that God's going to completely remove that. But one of the things I say in the first chapter is whether God does or not, it doesn't change who I am or my faith. It doesn't change who God is or what he's able to do. I love God unconditionally because he loves me unconditionally.
Right.
And my faith, it's all in faith, regardless of the outcome of what I think should happen in any situation. I have to trust him and know that his ways are higher than our ways. And that's what the word says. And so that's an all-in kind of faith. And it takes the pressure off of you. I've heard so many people, and maybe I always feel so bad for them. There was a guy, we were just talking about this earlier today with somebody, it was a newscaster, and he got on and said that one of his friends, I guess, had not been healed when he was a kid, and he never got over it. And he felt like because this person wasn't healed in his life, that God wasn't real. And so he had been an atheist since then. And, that so many people run away from God instead of running to God in the midst of their troubles because things aren't working out like they had hoped or like they thought it should. But that's not all in faith. And faith isn't perfect. None of us have perfect faith. It's progress, not perfection. That's kind of our tagline. But as we attain and go from glory to glory and work towards platinum faith, we get closer with God, and it's all, we win. We win at the end, even if it doesn't turn out like we exactly thought it would. We have to just trust God in everything, in every situation, and that's tough sometimes.
It is. Well, Michelle, we're out of time. Tell us what the week ahead has for you.
Okay, well, it's tomorrow. I'm doing a TV thing, so pray for that. But I'm good. I've got a couple more interviews this week, and then next week I am home until the 12th, and then I'm meeting Kyle Young in Chicago, and we are doing a one-day serious writer. I think they call it a boot camp, just a one-day boot camp, and then on the 17th I go to New York City for a 4-day thing and doing some media there, and going with our best friends Angie and Darren, and having just a fun time in New York after I do all the work, like a little work and a little play. So I am home for a few days. I'm trying to get some deadlines knocked out.
Who handles your mail while you're gone? I mean,
well, luckily we have a daughter and a son-in-law who live in town now, so they have to feed the cats. I mean, the cats think we've moved away. I mean, it's so sad.
You have to put the bills on auto pay because by the time you get back, they'll be past due.
It's been a busy year, hasn't it? I know, but I love it. This is a fun season. It's a busy season, but it's a fun season.
Well, Michelle, I tell you what, you've made time for us, and I'm honored. I'm blown away that you and Dale and others, have accommodated PJNet and just taken us under your wing. And folks, we're flying. We're starting to take off, and I am excited about not only where we've been, but where we're going.
Amen.
And I just can't wait. And I look at the chat room and I see people engaging, in conversation, and it's just, it's great. And folks, if you're not part of the PJNet family, you're just not living right. I mean, you're just
out.
Yeah, you're missing out. But thanks for taking time, and let's hit up Bethany and see if we can somehow, some way. You are both of you are like octopus on roller skates. I don't know how to slow you girls down. But if there's any way I just feel it's only fair that she should join us, because she's half the book. But boy, what a tremendous launch! What a tremendous undertaking for a person who's written as many books as you have and has sold as many books as you have to be so excited about this new work. Says a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks
so much.
All right, we'll see you next week.
For sure. Bye.
All right, folks. I say it doesn't get any better than that, but I got news for you. It's going to get better and better and better. Folks, we had a rough time migrating to the new server that is now, as you can tell, functional and operational. And so now we can turn our guns to all those things that we've been wanting to do, and that's going to start tonight. And you're going to start seeing changes, and you're going to start seeing new things, hopefully as soon as tomorrow. Those of you that have joined us live and in our chat room, thank you so much for being a part of what we do here, because you are a part of PJNet. Michelle talked about theologians and seminary graduates. Folks, this is ordinary people like you and me just sharing their walk with Christ. That's what we do here at PJNet Live, and we appreciate your involvement. See you next time.